Hello to all and welcome to this space of She100 Global Networking, and today with Anita Caprice and Archie Batarchi from India and US, from prison reforms and social reintegration. Learn, exchange, connect. This is our aim. We do believe on what is the power of friendly conversation. Experts from different areas, but focus on what is social work. Not really activism, but this micro influencing, when we could help institutions to do better, going back to what is democracy, what is that citizen that take the lead, that take responsibility, not because they don't trust, just because they trust on itself. They trust that could become an agent of change, that change that is so needed in our society. And it's so needed, the same as the presence of Anita Caprice with her green, with powerful green, and Archie Batarchi. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is always a blessing to share platform with you. Absolutely. And thank you for inviting us to be on this platform with G100 Global Networking.
This is a joint action, and this is the way we focus what is global networking, this kind of social activism inside us, but outside, trying to connect one to each other from their expertise, from their professions, and from their idea of what is goodwill. We are convinced that goodwill and expertise is a powerful tool if they came together. Anita, please, do you like to tell us what you're doing in prison reforms? Because it looks as a very challenging, there is a very challenging debate on what is prison reforms and what is social reintegration, two of a kind. How do we mix this, and how do you dare to take the responsibility of this wonderful way?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mara. I love that question. This prison reforms and reintegration, it is challenging. There's challenging work to be done. However, it's also fun. And what we've done, we're taking the approach that we are partnering with prisons. So instead of being separate from or coming in saying, okay, what you've done wrong, we're here to fix it, we want to integrate. As a matter of fact, with prison reforms and reintegration, we've just developed two committees. One is the programs committee, and then one is the integration committee. Because we have our philosophy is that, in this day and age, this is not the time to be rough and tough, to step in and say, we're taking over. What we want to do is join hands with the prisons. That's what we say. We want to partner with prisons so that we may encourage integration in improving specifically the healthcare treatment and practices that are currently happening in various prisons throughout the world. So our thing is to provide programs. We have the programs is bless their hearts, Michelle Brown, USA Country Chair, and IBI, Ireland Country Chair. And Michelle has an excellent program. She has an excellent program dealing with anger management. And IBI has an excellent program as far as helping sisters reintegrate and going home, reintegrating into society. So I am so excited. We have dynamic sisters, and we're welcoming, we're asking, we're inviting sisters to join us. Right now we have a dynamic set of sisterhood. Hi, Elizabeth.
Welcome, Elizabeth from Philippines. Can you hear us?
Good day, everyone. Hi. Glad to be here.
Please, Elizabeth, introduce yourself. We are very happy to have you. You have some problems of sound, but it's okay.
Okay. I am Elizabeth Esguerra Castillo from the Philippines, country chair for the Philippines. And I'm sorry because I just arrived from work, but I'm happy to be here. Okay. Just a brief view of the women's reform, prison women's reform here in the Philippines. We have here the Philippine Women Prison Reforms, what we call Bureau of Prisons. Okay. And the main issue of prison reforms here, usually the central argument calls for human rights, the human rights, public health implications. It becomes unsanitary or unhygienic for women in these prisons, in the Bureau of Prisons. So the focus should be providing good sanitation for women, hygienic utilities, and other, because public health implications and other detrimental social impact, these are the general issues plaguing the women prisons in the Philippines.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And we see how challenging is this debate, because we are talking about different continents today: Philippines, US, Spain, India, and the realities are completely different. It's a matter of founding, it's a matter of structure, and I will give you my opinion about how much the society may contribute with that prison reforms that is taken as that. Prison reforms will reform the establishment of what means the establishment and the building of what is the policies on prison reforms, and also the buildings. But it's much more than that, because the nexus that we make, the link that we make with social integration is missing there. You know? What do you think, Anita?
Yeah, I so agree. And the one thing that I find fascinating and hopeful in all of this, one, I'm learning so much about the prison systems globally. And even though it may be different, I am finding that there's similarities. You know, the number, like primarily number one reasons women are being sentenced, convicted, and housed in the prison system. And one thing that what we're doing too is keeping in alignment with the Eligose, specifically with education. And I don't know if I pronounced it right. I had to look up and say, okay, with that French, I know you, Mara, can share with me. I said, okay, I know Spanish, the two L's is a Y. And I said, okay, with French, French is the two L's is Y too. But with G100, that G20, Eligose. So, and specifically with the education, the empowerment, the equality, and even solidarity. Because today, in this day and age, now is the day not to be separate and not to be and not to be, yes, be diversified, but we want to be diversified in unity, in solidarity. So as we are helping, our primary focus is that the sisters in the prison system. Now, as far as the politics or different things like that, for me, that's not our focus. Our focus is one of the things that is a primary issue within all of the prisons, like Elizabeth just said, sanitary. That is directly linked to health care. So we want to focus on one thing, instead of being all over the place, being a massive jack of all trades and really not accomplishing too much of anything. We want to master the one. So we want to master, okay, how can we help the prison system, as well as how can we help that warden, that human resource, those ADWs, those assistant wardens, those security officers. How can we implement and integrate, and that sister, how can we join hands together and create improvement? Because everything can stand improvement. So it's not like we're coming in to come in and do a bump rush. No, how can we come together and help our sisters with enhanced empowerment, with equality, with education, and with that solidarity? Because I think once we come together as one, because that's what's happening in this world today. I know that peace and love is very important, but it just dawned on me, and I shared with Michelle, USA Country Chair, that I had participated in a peace conference, and ever since that peace conference was had, I have come across so many people, individuals, not groups, if you will, but individuals responding to that peace. And I said, oh my God. I said, although peace is not talked about too much, really, even on Facebook, it is in the hearts of millions. We essentially now want to get back with that peace and love. And that's how we want to integrate. We want to join hands with the prison system using that primary thing in the back of our mind. We may not be at, saying peace and love and, doing the banners, but in our mind, in our intention, we want to approach this on a basis of peace and love and working together.
Beautiful, Anita. It's not a coincidence that we say that She 100 is innovative, because we have Anita that is a book author, and a book that is over there. That is over there in their back is an author and a spiritual woman that give lessons of what it means to live from a spiritual perspective, and also someone like her that is on prison and reform. So you can imagine the way we are printing this debate, from what side we are printing. And I know that you have appointed a wonderful and amazing woman, an activist from India that is here with us. Please, Anita, introduce Archie.
Yes, I am. And Dr. Archana Bhattacharjee, I am so honored and blessed to have you guys with us. Dr. Archana, she is an educationist. She is a social worker and philanthropist, and she is a student of life. She says she enjoys learning. She's open to and resilient to the global and national, international changes, even the feminine change. Just learning about life. I love one time she had put one on. It was a beautiful poem in the inbox where this man had written this poem that was all about love and peace, and that was just so beautiful. So Dr. Archana, she's our India country chair, and just contributes just a major contributor to our sisterhood family. So I'm just so happy to have both of them. Elizabeth, our Philippines country chair, she's with her writing. She's a poet, so she's bringing in that energy of camaraderie and sisterhood as well. She has a beautiful artist as far as that medium, as far as paintings, won awards. So we have some dynamic sisters in our sister family fold. We really do. And we want to build this wing, because for all of our sisters, and especially for our sister Dr. Harbina Rorai. I mean, her vision, we want to keep in alignment with her vision and be a viable part, a powerful component to show that prison reforms and reintegration is in the house, face up, we are doing the work. So I just want to say thank you, Dr. Archana, thank you, Elizabeth, both of you, for being part of prison reforms and reintegration. And also I want to say we have Claire Brady, Nigeria, IBI Barreto, Ireland, Lara Zelinki, Australia, Maya, Serbia, and then Michelle Brown, USA. So I just want to say that I'm just so thankful and grateful to you.
So can I start now?
Yes, please.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you so much, Dr. Anita, for that beautiful introduction. And I would also like to thank the Global Networking and our beautiful sisters here for giving me the opportunity to air and share my views on a subject which is very close to my heart. I am Dr. Archana Bhattacharjee, as Dr. Anita has already informed you, and I am the Indian chair of the Prison Reforms and Reintegration Week of G100. And today, I am before you to share the certain insights on the prison system, particularly in relation to the women in the prison. And whatever I'm going to share are actually based on reports from jail visits conducted by the National Commission for Women between November 2017 and May 2018, and a comprehensive review of the prison manuals carried out by the National Law University, Delhi between March and June 2018. Some secondary data have also been shared by the Ministry of Home Affairs. So the things which I want to share with you are actually real facts. And this is what actually we should all be concerned about. So first, to get back to the prison, what exactly we mean by prison? As we all know, it's a correction facility, and it is meant to house individuals who break the law. And the purpose of prison, as we all know, is the reformation of the inmates. Despite this, prison system often hide violence and depravity behind their closed doors, which is detrimental to the reform of the offenders. It is thus essential, very essential, to recognize and to fulfill the basic rights of the prisoners to encourage their reformation. The problem related to the imprisonment becomes actually even more pronounced in the context of the women inmates. The prison system, as we all know, are primarily designed, especially in the Indian context, they're primarily designed to cater to men and are not well equipped to address the particular needs of the women in prison. So, based on the reports, certain key findings have come up, and this is what I want to place before you today. As we all know, there are a number of provisions in the form of laws, rules, and guidelines to protect women from exploitation in the prison and guarantee them basic services. However, remember, implementation of these provisions are found to be largely lacking, and women face a variety of problems. They face a lot of problems while living in the prison. There is also very severe lack of female staff, which includes guards, officers, doctors, nurses, counselors, etc. And accommodation arrangements are often inadequate due to the overcrowding in the most of the prisons. There are inadequate number of toilets, bathrooms, and other basic, preconditions for sanitation and hygiene. And the insufficient provision of water and menstrual hygiene actually is a very serious concern in the prison system. There is also lack of female medical personnel and facilities meant to cover the physical, sexual, reproductive, and mental health needs of the women in prison. Nutrition, again, which is very closely linked to health, is a concern particularly for the pregnant and the lactating mothers and the children in the prison. While they are to be given a special diet, instructions are there, no doubt, but this is never followed. Women are entitled to have access to education while they are in the prison. But apart from the provision for basic literacy, educational facilities are largely missing. Skilling and vocational training also is not considered important part of the reformation measure. So efforts in this regards are largely eyewash. This is just a kind of a show, but in reality, it's a totally different picture altogether. Certain skills are imparted, no doubt, but they are not financially, lucrative, or this is not rewarding, and this is not a much use to women after they are released from the prison. All the prisoners, particularly women prisoners, they have a right to the legal aid, for which there should be a legal cell in every prison to help with cases of complaints, under trials, appeals, etc. But these are not found in all the prisons, and linkages with states and district legal service authorities can definitely be improved. And then again, we have this physical and sexual violence, which is very common scenario in the prisons, faced by the inmates at the hands of the authorities and other prisoners. The provision for ensuring the safety of women in prison and addressing their complaints, and this should be followed strictly, but this is not the case as of now. So now the prisons actually are an insulated world, and it is important that women in particular maintains contact with their social network outside the prison to ensure a smooth transition after they are released. While limits on the number of telephone calls, letters, visitations are relaxed here and there, more needs to be done to help them maintain contact and overcome the social stigma attached to women prisoners. Many women live in prison with their children below 6 years of age. In cases where there are no adequate arrangement can be made for their care, they stay with their mother. So spending their formative years in the prison can definitely have a huge negative impact on the children. And thus, special care needs to be taken to ensure the physical and the mental health, education, as well as the recreation. The health of the pregnant women and mothers also needs to be taken care of in the prison. So reintegration in society is a big, big challenge for many women prisoners as they face more severe social stigma, loss of family ties and employment, lack of economic independence, and so on after the release. What I personally feel is that steps need to be taken to ensure that women receive all the basic services while they are in the prison, such as they should be protected from violence and supported after the release to effectively take a place in the society. Well, for now, this is all that I have to share, and I'll get back to your questions later on.
Thank you so much, Archie, for this insightful presentation about the reality from India. I think we need to go back to what we have said, what means global or what means local. Prison reforms is a local issue, mainly a local issue. And the global support, when we started this collaboration with Anita, we say, well, how global networking may contribute to prison reforms. And this is the best example. A global structure may contribute to be replicated, because there are examples of countries that have succeeded. They have reduced the criminality and they have resources for reinsertion because their economies have going high. It's so important, this factor for reintegration, that is the economy balance of a country. Anita.
Yeah, I so agree, and thank you so much, Dr. Archana. Yeah, you know, I saw a YouTube or a video regarding the prison system in Switzerland, and it's totally different from A to Z. A lot of the cells, many of the cells may look better than a lot of housing that we normally live in, kind of thing. When you mention violence, Dr. Archana, you know, that's one of the things, you know, with within the prison system that does occur. And one of the things that I'd like to entertain is the OPCAT. And India is one of the countries that's involved with the OPCAT. So maybe that needs to be looked into to make sure that the prison systems in India are actively involved with the OPCAT. OPCAT was created by Jean-Jacques Gaultier in like 1976. And OPCAT is Optional Protocol for the Convention of Torture. And what this program does, or initiative campaign, and 91 countries have adopted, USA has not. What this entails is that once a prison system signs up, or the country, and I got to get more information. I don't know if it's individual or country. I think it's country. Once a country signs up with OPCAT, what they're saying is that within a year, that country is going to create committees. It's one committee that's local that will visit prisons impromptu, without notice, sometimes with notice. Then you have a global committee, the subcommittee for prison against torture and ill treatment and abuse. The concept behind this thing is that he says that to prevent torture, ill treatment, and abuse is to expose it. And the way to expose it is to create these committees, and where these groups will visit these prisons to ensure that violence isn't taking place. I have also read that violence in and of itself is more prominent during the retaining part, before you're actually housed into the prison housing system. While you're being retained in a structure, we call ours jail, before you go to prison. That's where a lot of this abuse can occur. It's like, and you mentioned the phone calls. I just read. I signed up for this prison initiative, which I absolutely love, that brings information. How now there was something, it was an issue, a serious issue, regarding the cost of inmates being able to communicate by phone, video, because now of this age is video, YouTube. It's not just phone, and the exorbitant cost. Well, now it's called the Martha Wells or something Act that's coming into play, that should be effective, I believe they said maybe the middle of this year. So there are things that are happening within the local, the national and international prison system. But these are the things that that things are in place. So it's and I understand, to reform, to make new. That is a very viable part of it. And though, what we can do is again implement and integrate existing measures that are happening now, because that was his Jean-Jacques Gaultier. That was his premise. It's like, we want to integrate. We want to say, hey, we want to help you. We want to can we bring our ideas to the table, and then work together. And I love that. When I read that, I said, that's the way we want to go, because that's possible. And like I said, 91 countries have signed the OPCAT agreement, and that's a beautiful thing. So those are the things that we're looking at, as well as the Bangkok. For me, Dr. Harveen has sent me the Bangkok rules. There's 70 rules, and it originated from Thailand. And the premise of this is that, like you said, Dr. Chana, there's a difference between the male prison system and the female prison system. There's difference, and these prisons need to be addressed or operated according to the need of that inmate. And that's one of the things that the Bangkok rules. It has a guideline. It shows the different types of areas. I mean, I'm reading right now chapters. It's 4 point something to something. I don't know right now, but right now I'm reading the chapters about healthcare, and I love how they bulletproof this thing. The importance of this, why to do this, and how to go about doing it. I think it is. I love that, because now it's not like we're going in like, duh, okay, now we're starting from scratch. I mean, what do we do? Then we have a guideline. We have a guideline that we can follow, and I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that that's the kind of means and way that things can be implemented because there is a guideline as opposed to having to create. That's time consuming. So instead of implementation 5 years from now, this may happen within a year and a half, or even sooner than that, because we have a guideline. So I'm very hopeful. I'm excited about what we're doing. The newsletter, we're going to be coming out with a newsletter, for just to increase awareness, because that's another way to incorporate society and the prison system, to as you indicated, Mar, this is a social kind of thing. That's a powerful way to bring society involved by sharing, enhancing information, enhancing awareness of things, how we may improve. Not to say, okay, this is wrong, that's wrong, this is wrong, but no, how we can improve the healthcare with women, adding this and sharing things that needs to be shared. Like Dr. Harchana mentioned, the hygiene, with the sanitary feminine products. Well, in the Bangkok rules, it's in there that should be something that is a staple, and it should be given free. Here in the United States, women, the prison system, if you don't have those feminine products, you cannot make your own or you'll be sanctioned. And if you soil your sheet or your clothes, you will be sanctioned. How can we control the fluid within our body? That, we don't do that. So these are things, what I mean, as far as we have a template, we have a light, if you will, that we can use to make a difference.
Compassion, empathy, compassion, empathy, education on values. This is what is missing, and this is what have a real impact, a practical impact on what means all this related to criminality. This is not to be in complicity with criminality, is to the complicity towards balanced society, reducing criminality, reducing the capacity to be part of a violent society, reducing this idea that in social media or in video games, this idea that young generation gets that violence is part of the society. Reducing this idea means compassion, this means empathy, it means to work from the society. It's their own citizens that need to build their own feelings. It's not about revenge, it's about to see how we could reinsert that and get that link that, as Archie was saying, they are losing their link because they are not enough prepared to then enter into society. And Elizabeth from Philippines, have it resonate with you what Archie was saying about health, about this connection with the society, people in the prisons? Is the same? Is different? What do you think about it?
Was not able to hear his.
You were not able to hear. Okay. We came back to you, Archie. Yes, please.
Oh, yes. I would just like to add another very important point. What I personally feel is that no matter how many rules and regulations the government come up with, what is the need of the hour is, regular and the thorough, inspection of the prison system. There should be close monitoring of the system, to see if the rules are being implemented in the right way. And secondly, another very important thing is that Dr. Anita had already highlighted that we need to create awareness amongst the public, the stakeholders, and with the tools of love, compassion, try to get them involved, make them aware about what is going on the other side. And, with that fellow feeling, help them. And if public gets conscious, then what happens? Obviously, the officials also, they are bound to follow the rules because they know, they realize that there's someone keeping an eye on their activities. The government cannot always come down to that level and check each and everything. But the public is almost like the CCTV camera. That is why very important. That is why public awareness is so very important. And that is what we need to create, particularly amongst the women stakeholders. Women should be genuinely concerned about the plight of their own sisters due to different reasons. We do not know what compelled them to, resort to such measures, which ultimately, led to their imprisonment. We don't know. So we should actually put ourselves in their shoes, try to understand, and then help them come out of their, whatever is going on in their head, come out of all the stigmas that society sometimes forcefully try to impose on them. And then again, all the negative conditionings they build up over the years they spend in the prison system. So all these corrective measures needs to be adopted, and they can be adopted also, provided we join hands. We join hands with the official, we join hands with the government, and be a part of the reformative process.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Archie. Elizabeth?
Please. Yes, I agree with what Doctor said. The public should be aware of what is the reality going on in the prison, because we cannot really know the steps to take if we're not aware of what's happening there. And in the Philippines, the issue is still about human rights when it comes to women prisons. The rehabilitation should be done. The media is one way of exposing this kind of issues, but then after after exposing this kind of situations, the next step would be to the reform, or how to be able to get support from both the government and other NGOs or women support groups. We do have here some women support groups like Gabriela and some other women activists. They see to it that this women in the prisons get to be heard, or not to be engaged in some abuses. But then it's not enough. Also financially, that's one major problem.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Your vision from Philippines, the situation from Philippines is similar to India.
Yes. Yes, similar situation.
Archie, please.
Yes. Hello. I didn't catch your question. What was it?
Well, we can hear. Anita, please.
Okay. Yes, I agree that that the prison system in general, I mean, sure, we can get regional with it, but when we're talking generalities, it is common. That's what I was sharing earlier, that there are similarities. It's not as diverse that we may think it is, or unique to the country. The issues, the overall issues within the female prison system is so much alike. When we had gotten together for, I think it was our first country chair meeting, the sisters, the country chairs, brought to the table the issues in their country. And when we were done, it was okay, this is really the same thing globally. One of the main constructs of it all was mental health care. And that's why we were saying, let's concentrate on mental health care, because that will address female prisons worldwide. as opposed to it then being regional. Okay, well that works over there in the Philippines, or that's part over there in India. If we start as a whole and then take pieces of it, I believe that's how we can make a difference as well. I know Dr. Archana in our meeting, when she was saying that women are the crime, the charge in India for women is murder, because there's an issue with dowry. There's an issue with that, that endowment thing. So and with the husbands and the abuse. Well, in the United States, we don't necessarily have a dowry. However, we have women who are subject and who are survivors of domestic violence, and who have escaped or have been convicted of a charge, and because it was interrelated with that domestic violence. So you have India over here regarding a dowry situation, but what's in there? Domestic violence. You have America over here that the issues with domestic violence. What's the common thread here? Domestic violence. And then if there is the common thread of domestic violence going into the psyche, then now we have sisters who are in this survivor mode kind of thing. So you have women coming into the prison system, and that's like part of the healthcare too. We have sisters coming into the penal system and being housed in this institutional setting, that the issue of the psychology of the issue of the mental and emotional trauma that they've experienced before committing this crime has not been addressed. So now you're in prison, and the health care, because again, everything, we all can stand improvement. The health care may not be addressing that survival mode, emotional, mental, and spiritual component of that sister, and then she gets integrated back into society. Well, if that's not addressed, what's going to happen? You're going to have recidivism. You're going to have people coming back. And then if I'm in prison and I have this, I'm in survival mode. I mean, we're talking physiological, psychological, all kind of warfare going on inside of me, and within the prison system that's overcrowded for women because there's so many beds per inmate, and it's overcrowded. And now I'm integrated back in society. Well, I haven't even been, my psyche hasn't even been addressed. How am I going to flourish? I can get all kind of education. I can get all kind of money. I can have all kind of opportunities. But if I have not addressed, I'm going to get real. If I have not addressed the issues of my soul, what does the external, what does the extrinsic have to do with if I have not been able, having the opportunity and the benefit to address the intrinsic part of who I am? That's why I think this healthcare is the most viable and most important thing that we can join prisons with. And I understand, the hygiene and absolutely, we got to help that sister take care of her psyche in order for her to thrive once she's integrated. That's my point on it. To me, it's simple.
I would like to add another point here, Dr. Anita. The thing is that mental health care is very important, no doubt. But at the same time, the prison authority should make sure that the inmates, the women inmates, have access to medical care, and the doctors, if they are female doctors, then, it becomes easier for them to connect with, they sometimes hesitate to open up if the doctor turns out to be a male doctor. And most of the prisons out here in India have male doctors. And that is a big problem. And, they do not have any doctors to particularly address the psychological problems. They are general doctors. They are not specialized in, dealing with psychological case. They are not psychiatrists or, people like that. That is another big problem out here. And education system also, within the prison system also should be, needs an overhauling. I mean, they should cater to the needs of those inmates, women inmates who are qualified, but due to certain acts committed by them, they have been in prison. But we need to keep them engaged. If they are educated people, they should be given the opportunity to continue with the education out there, or at least acquire certain skills, which is going to help them when they come out of the prison. Because empty mind, as we know, is a devil's workshop. So we need to keep them positively engaged also. But this is lacking.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Dr. Achana. You mentioned like the healthcare, doctors and nurses and different, that's healthcare. So that's all of healthcare. That encompasses the healthcare. As far as the education, we know that it's lacking. We know a lot of things are lacking. However, we can concentrate on so many things and get nothing done. Or we can concentrate on one thing and succeed at that, and then concentrate on the next thing. My thing is I can have I can be a doc, I can have 1,000 doctorates under my wing. If I don't have it up, if I'm suicidal, if I'm manic depressive, if I have issues that I have not taken care of emotionally, those doctorates mean nothing. That's the only thing that I'm saying. And I also want to say that, the education system, it needs improvement, but it does not mean that it's not there. So we don't want to take the position that, okay, y'all don't have nothing, this has to be done, we got to come in and do this. Because that's going to put someone on the defense, like, wait a minute, who are you now? Now you come and tell we don't have this, we don't have that, we don't have this. So, there is education in the prison system. You know what I mean? Yes, it needs to, yes, it can stand improvement. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sorry, Mark, go ahead, because I see you.
No, please. I'm delighted to listen to you. It's just a small remark. I think this is very important that we need to fix, that is local and global. We have seen that from India, we are talking about doctors, so absolutely basic standards for health. But we are also know that in Finland we have open prisons, that they have a degree, they get a degree in university from open prison with no uniforms, no lock, no nothing. So it's so difficult to find the middle. So we need to go to the basic first. So each local issue is extremely important. And the only way that we could control a citizen is, as you say, Anita, to raise awareness from the civil society to make sure that there are the basic standards are fit. And then we start growing on our ambitions. But that, I think, could create an influence, what is the political sector, and what also I would give importance, especially what means to the logistic aspect, that is public and private. To make public and private, I think, is the strategic partnership. Talking about sustainable development goals, that is the strategic partnership. Even that, I don't know if USA or India is the same reality.
Yes, it is.
I think, because a woman, that's in one of the Bangkok rules. Hey, Reverend Dr. Tracy, one of the stipulations in there, and I so agree, is that a woman has a right. When we go to the doctor, if it's a male doctor servicing us, there's a nurse that comes in there or someone that's female. Women in prison have that same right. And I think what we want to keep in mind is that, when we are sentenced to prison, it is a corrective measure. It has nothing to do with violation. Our civil human rights should not be violated. They should not be violated. So that woman, that sister has every right. If she says, hey, I'm uncomfortable, or even without being said, when I'm going in there to get a gynecological checkup or whatever, there, and it's a male doctor. Absolutely, there should be some female present in that room. Absolutely, I so agree, Dr. Achana. Absolutely, and that's with the healthcare, with the healthcare as well. I mean, that healthcare is major.
In terms of conclusions, what we will get from that, what lessons we may learn, is a political issue. Is the society that get revenge from what is all this criminality sector of population? Is the society rejecting what is the insertion? Or is a political issue? What do you think, Archie, in India, for example, your perception from India? And maybe it would be different in the US.
Actually, I wouldn't say that it's a political issue, The politics cannot, or the government cannot be blamed for anyone committing any crime and landing up in the prison at the end of it. It's a society, actually. It's a society which is responsible, for a lot of these negative activities they go on, whether it's a man or a woman. So certain changes needs to be brought out, and the changes needs to start at home. Take that first step at home. While bringing up the children, we need to give them certain value education, just so that when they step out into the society, they know where to put their feet in. So you see, what can help to bring about the changes? That is one big question. As an educator and with so many years of experience, I have only one suggestion. I feel that education can be used as a tool to bring about the changes that we all look for, Education, not just the literacy, real education, value education, that needs to be incorporated into the curriculum once the children starts going to school, whether they are studying in a rural school, whether they are studying in a urban school, no matter where they are placed. They should all be provided with the same kind of value education, and with a strong moral mooring. I'm sure a lot of changes will be brought about, we'll be able to handle situations better. I don't blame anyone in particular. I don't blame the government. I don't blame any individual also. Actually, we as a part of the society are to be blamed also, somewhere we made a mistake, somewhere we have left gaps, So this lacunas needs to be identified, first of all. And in our capacity, whatever we can do, we should try to do it, to bring about the changes.
Archie, I'm not talking. Thank you for that. I'm not talking about blaming, but once we identify where is the cross-cutting issue, is when we may address it. And if we talk about prison reforms, there have been priorities in the agenda. When we talk about prison reforms, financial investment, for example, is one of that. So and that could be a priority in the political agenda or not. So there is an issue that is political.
Yes, so economic is number one in the list. Economic, the poverty actually. India, as you know, is a very highly populated country. Earlier it was in the second position. Now it has beaten China also. So we have a huge population here, and obviously, it's difficult to maintain uniformity economically. So that is a very important, cause or the factor leading to a lot of crimes. One. Second point, in regard to the prison system, what I feel is this, that yes, government comes up with rules and regulations, no doubt, but due to lack of missionaries who should be doing the monitoring are not doing it. That is why it is not functional. And that is why we have a lot of problems within the prison system. So this needs overhauling also.
Thank you, Anita. Anita, the perception from US, a political issue, a rejection from the society. USA, correct me if it's not that, I consider a very important in terms of racism. Racism and xenophobic is part of the problem that generates an engine to generate violence in societies. So what do you think about that?
Well, are we talking prison system? Or are we talking raising our children? I'm not sure.
The prison system.
Prison system. Okay. So as far as the prison system, I believe it's a community and social issue, because it starts, that old adage, Vince Gill, let there be something and let it begin with me. It is a lack of awareness, I believe. I don't believe that it's a rejection. I just think a lot of us are unaware. I know before I spent 19 years in the male penal system in prison. I'm sorry, 4 years. I spent 19 in Michigan Department of Corrections. 4 years I was in the maximum prison system for men. I had no idea. And now, that was 1998. But being part of prison reforms and reintegration, I had no idea such things as the Bangkok Rule, the Mandela Rule. There are rules. There's a guide in India. I had no idea of these things and some of the conditions that can be helped as far as being improved. I had no idea. So, and I'm not different from anyone else. So I'm saying if I was unaware, I'm thinking thousands and millions of people are unaware. That's why I think that publication, that newsletter is a very powerful tool, because we as a humanitarian unit, we are compassionate and empathetic. If you don't know, you don't know. And a lot of times, once we become aware, just like that OPCAT, it is not the government that creates these committees that go into these prisons and make sure and monitor them. It is the citizens of that particular area. It has nothing. Government's not even involved. We're talking or citizens in that area that form a committee and they make a commitment to go into those prisons without announcement, with announcement, to ensure that prison or those prisons are being operated, without the violence and all that kind of stuff. So for me, it is lack of awareness. If you don't know, you don't know.
For me, it's lack of empathy. It's also it's awareness, but I think lack of empathy is one of the main issues. Archie, please.
I am with Dr. Anita in regard to awareness. That is very important, and I think most of the problem has also cropped up due to lack of awareness. And so, in the last discussion, also I had suggested that we bring out a newsletter in the first place, because we have formed a committee. So let us do something from our platform to create this kind of awareness, not just locally, but globally. There are a lot of commonalities in the system, but at the same time, there are certain unique features also, and we should be aware of it also. And this newsletter or any kind of documentation will give us the opportunity to learn about one another, to learn about the different situation in different countries, and try to see how some of these can be incorporated in our own country, if possible, or we can suggest to the government or to any other agencies, through different kind of programs as such, just so that, they listen, they hear, and if they find it acceptable, to implement it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Archie. And before we are about to leave, so I will give you 1 minute, then we give it to Anita. For me, just to say, Global Networking, this was our contribution for our wing to prison reforms. This was to come together, to talk, to learn, to exchange, to connect. It's something that when you listen to this conversation, if something resonates to you in your social work or in any way from social media or for any of your expertise that you may contribute to that, do it, please. Connect with us. A prison system is part of the system. And if it's wrong, the society is wrong as well. You don't have to empathize to criminality. You have to contribute to reduce criminality. And that the only way is all together, sustainable development goals. We build resilience if we reduce violence. And we reduce violence if we reform our mindset. That's in the first step. Anita, please wrap up, and we are leaving right now.
I so agree with you too. Absolutely. That is the reduction, the awareness, and this net. So for this one moment, I would just like to say, you guys, we welcome sisters. We're welcoming country chairs. Please contact us. We are joining hands. We'd love for you to come and join hands with us as we help to improve our global prison system. And Mar, I want to say thank you, because today we've increased awareness. I was just thinking, I said, oh my God, we did the thing today. We increased awareness. There you go. And Dr. Achana, and that's how it starts. That's how it starts. And Dr. Achana, and Elizabeth. So I'm just so grateful, for your creativity, your expertise, your wisdom, your knowledge, and you're bringing that to the table, the sisters. So I just want to say thank you. I love you, and I'm good.